The Upanishads in two parts. Part 2, translated by F. Max Muller. Prasna Upanishad. Second question. Then Bhargava Vaid Arbe asked him, Sir, how many entities keep what has thus been created? How many manifest this? And who is the best of them? He replied, The ether is that entity, the wind, fire, water, earth, speech, mind, eye, and ear. These, when they have manifested their power, contend and say, We, each of us, support this body and keep it. Then prana, breath, spirit, life, as the best said to them, Be not deceived, I alone, dividing myself fivefold, support this body and keep it. They were incredulous. So he, from pride, did as if he were going out from above. Thereupon, as he went out, all the others went out, and as he returned, all the others returned, as bees go out when their queen goes out, and return when she returns. Thus did speech, mind, eye, and ear, and being satisfied, they praise prana, saying, He is Agni, fire. He shines as Surya, sun. He is Parganya, rain. The powerful Indra. He is Vayu, wind. He is the earth. He is matter. He is God. He is what is and what is not, and what is immortal. As spokes in the nave of a wheel, everything is fixed in prana. The verses of the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, the sacrifice, the Kshatriyas, and the Brahmins. As Pragapata, Lord of creatures, thou movest about in the womb. Thou indeed art born again. To thee, the prana, these creatures bring offerings. To thee, who dwellest with the other pranas, the organs of the sense. Thou art the best carrier for the entities. Thou art the first offering to the fathers. Thou art the true work of the rishis, of the Atharvagindras. O prana, thou art Indra by thy light. Thou art Rudra as protector. Thou movest in the sky. Thou art the sun, the lord of lights. When thou showerest down rain, then, O prana, these creatures of thine are delighted, hoping that there will be food, as much as they desire. Thou art a vrachya, O prana, the only risha, the consumer of everything, the good Lord. We are the givers of what thou hast to consume. Thou, O Mataresva, art our Father. Make perpetuous that body of thine which dwells in speech, in the ear, in the eye, and which pervades the mind. Do not go away. All this is in the power of prana. Whatever exists in the three heavens, protect us like a mother her sons, and give us happiness and wisdom. And this 13-verse question reminds us that when people talk about these other gods, well, maybe they're not other gods. Maybe they're like, ways we know about this same God, which is the current behind it all. And in verse 11, thou art a vrachya, a person for whom the samskaras, the sacramental and initiatory rites, have not been performed. Sankara says that as he was the firstborn, there was no one to perform them for him, and that he is called vrachya because he was pure by nature. This is all very doubtful. And in the same verse, the only risha, Agni, is said to be the risha of the Atharvanas, and instead of the irregular vocative Mataresva, there is another reading, Mataresvana, i.e. thou art the father of Mataresvan, the wind, and therefore of the whole world. And of course, if we look at, we can look behind this parent and child language and get the point. newer than the newest creation, older than the oldest creation, the source of it all, the other things that are associated with that sort of thing, without necessarily looking at the limits of incarnation here. In verse 10, these creatures of thine are delighted. Another reading is pranata, they breathe. In verse 8, thou art the true work of the rishis, of the Athar Vangeras, explains the eye and the other organs of sense, which the chief prana supports. It is probably an old verse here applied to a special purpose. And the first offering, when a sraddha is offered to the Pitris, and in Sanskrit, it is Madhu Karavraga, the king of the bees. When their queen goes out, in verse 4, as bees goes out, I wasn't seeing the word bees, Bees is a very common and important spiritual symbol, especially when you get into paths like yoga and Islam that talk about the development of the self rather than just a cult of worshiping and obeying. And in question 1, how many gods? Devah, powers, organs, senses. So it's not quite the same thing as gods. And how many manifest this? Their respective power. Like all those names with Al or Yah at the end, in Northern Semitic speak. Some of them Southern Semitic, but the etymology is not entirely the same in that language. We, each of us, support this body and keep it. Verse 2. This is Sankara's explanation, in which bana is taken to mean the same as sarira, body, but there seems to be no authority for such a meaning, and Anandagere tries in vain to find an etymological excuse for it. Bana or vana generally means an arrow, or in particularly in Brahmana writings, a harp with many strings. I do not see how an arrow could be used as an appropriate simile here, but a harp might if we take avashtabhya in the sense of holding the frame of the instrument, and vidaragama in the sense of stretching and thereby modulating it. And in verse 3, on the dispute of the organs of sense, see the Upanishad 6.1, page 201 of this book. Khandogya Upanishad 5.1, SBE, Volume 1, page 70